In a previous video, we talked about Google and their Pixels and how they don't seem to be taking the phone market very seriously. Matter of fact, instead of doubling down on their older style Passport, because everybody else is headed towards a Passport, and I suggested that maybe they just upgrade their cameras in this thing and maybe the battery and, of course, the processor. And they may have a winner here because everybody is chasing the Passport. But no, they seem to be just abandoning it completely and just doing minor updates on this phone. Well, since that video, a lot of news has come out, a lot of leaks have come out on the Google Pixels, and I think it may actually be worse than we thought. Stick around and I'll share it all with you. So the more leaks that come out on the Pixel phones, the more concerns I seem to have on these Pixels. I really did enjoy these when they first came out. And over the past couple of years, they just kind of gone stagnant with not a lot of changes. And, we've got these same designs that are coming out this next year. Now, be more specific on the Pixel Fold. Pixel Fold is going to actually be a slight bit thinner, but same design. And, a lot of us really like the Pixel simplicity of the software. It's very fast, it's very smooth. And of course, the AI features are some of the best in the market since Google is in the lead of all the AI stuff. And back in the beginning, I even defended Pixel's design. A lot of people thought it was weird, but I liked it because it didn't wobble. See there? It's not wobbly, not like one of our other phones out there, the Z Fold, which is crazy. Now, of course, the original design is actually even better. That thing does not wobble at all. I mean, you get a little wobble up here, but you have to press hard. So I defended their design in the beginning because I think it was a really smart idea. And I'm one of those that like resting my finger here, which is not something you can do on the Samsung, really. You can rest it to the side, but that feels really weird. So you got to just kind of drift here. This thing feels so much more solid in my hand because it's resting on the finger. So all that to say, Pixel did really good for a while, and then they just stopped innovating. And kind of like Samsung did, really focused on AI. Now, this did put them way ahead of companies like Apple, who is actually coming out with their Fold this year. And their Fold is going to be more of a Passport style, which you can see is quite a bit shorter and definitely wider than today's modern Fold. So I think it's a pretty slick design. And I know a lot of you out there that are Pixel fans, I would say the majority of you preferred this style better anyway. So Pixel had the right idea in the beginning, so I'm not quite sure why they're abandoning it and just kind of double downing with this style of Fold. Other than what I said in that previous video, I think it's fading away. So why do I think they're fading away? They're foldable. They may be fading away all their phones together because, with the wide fold here, the aspect ratio is a lot better when you are watching videos because although we still get the black bars, it just, to me, looks better. Because even compared to something like their new foldable, when you stand it up, look at that. That letterboxing is actually a little bit larger on that one. And even if I turn this thing this way, then it just barely matches up in size. So that's what's great. You have this smaller, shorter portable that you can put in your pocket better, and you really don't lose out on the visual content. And even on the outer screen, you actually have a little more surface to work with. Now, unless Google knows something the rest of it don't know, like they're not going to format their software for that size, which would seem silly since they did it in the beginning. I think they're just not planning on future renditions of their Fold. Now, with all the newer leaks and everything, there's even more information that's proving this, or making me even concerned more. Let's talk about that. Now, of course, maybe leaks are wrong, but what's interesting is, the camera specs really aren't changing much on the Pro version. Matter of fact, they are taking out this temperature sensor. And I don't know if any of you used it. I used it way back in the beginning, a phone or two ago when it was new, but I've never really used it, had a need for it. I think they put it out during the COVID days where everybody had to take their temperature, but it's no longer needed. So they're removing it and putting some sort of little LED imagery there for their Google symbol, a G. Who knows what else you can do with it, but I don't think I'm going to ever use anything like that because I rarely ever look at the back of my camera because there's nothing else to look at unless you're taking a photo and you're staring at it. So I don't know what this LED thing that is made for other than to take up some space. so they don't have to build a new design this year. So I'm just wondering if they're even really fading on this. Now they are coming out with their Tensor G6, so it's a slight upgrade from this last year. And of course, the thermals are supposed to be better, and it should be more proficient, being on a 2 nanometer platform. Although we're not really confirmed about that, but with that, it should go ahead and make the phones a little more proficient, faster, and the battery life a little longer. And now that I mentioned battery life, that's a good segue to the battery. The battery on the Fold is getting smaller. I mean, this Fold 10 was just over 5,000, I think, what, 5,050, something like that. And now the newer one is going to be down to like 4,700, almost 4,800. Now that is quite a drop. Now, of course, they may promote it and say because of the new processor, you're going to get just as much time or life out of it. But again, I think that'll just be all promotional hype. Bottom line is they're saving money by downgrading the battery. Now, they may say it's necessary to get that thinner phone because this one is 10.8 when closed. The new one will be, what, 10.1? So a bit smaller, but nowhere near as small as the rest of these. Like this one is 8.9. So they got a long ways to get as thin as the modern phones. And all of them are that way. You have the Oppo Find N6 that is thinner. And by the way, you can get cases for it now, which is really nice. And then of course, the Honor Magic B5 and B6 are thinner. And all these phones have newer and better cameras. Yes, Pixel has been great about processing their photos, and I won't deny that. But processing can only take you so far, and then you get into that digital realm of digitizing too much with AI. So I think they're going to struggle to keep up with the rest of the market. So with them not improving the cameras, with them downsizing the battery, and a couple other hardware differences, I'd say they're kind of just fading it out. Now, what are the other hardware differences? Well, they are going to drop this thing from 16 gigs. And I think they're doing the same thing with their Pro models. They're going from 16 gigs down to 12 gigs on their base model. And not only that, they're going to drop the storage. Can you imagine today getting a base model phone with 128 gigabytes of storage? That's ridiculous. Why are they doing this? Why are they reducing the RAM? Why are they reducing the storage? Because we know this is because they have listed entry level phones, and they're being very specific with their phone, saying entry level. At least that's in the leaks and rumors. And it may actually be different by the time it comes out if we all squeak enough. But they must be in manufacturing by now. So if they're reducing the storage as well as the RAM to 12 gigs, I'd say this is a loser before it even starts. Now, I would really hate to see Google get out of the business, especially on the foldables, because of them, we've got all this stuff. They started the revolution and really got people rolling. Yes, Samsung came out with the first fold. I won't deny you that. But it wasn't until Pixel came along that the manufacturers of these apps, those creators of these apps, started really making apps for these devices. And then even Android itself began to get built for the foldables. So there is the thought that, this was the game plan all along, that Pixel just wanted to do this so that they could show people that this format works and how to make apps for it. And now that we are there, it's time for them to kind of bow out of the market and get back to what they do best, which is software. And when I say software, I mean the Android operating system. So, tell me what you think. Do you think that the Google Pixel is on its last legs? I mean, there's no way am I going to trade in this phone, because that's the only way I can upgrade these phones these days, because they get expensive, is to trade them in. And why would I trade in a more premium phone with larger storage, more RAM, to a newer, lesser phone? So I really don't think they plan on selling many phones, not with all the competition out there. Yes, I know storage is slim these days, but I don't think that Samsung's going to actually bite the bullet and reduce their storage and reduce their RAM. And we know the Chinese competitors didn't, because they all have 16 gigabytes of RAM and 512 storage. So if Pixel is out of the game, I'm really hoping that these guys bust into the rest of the world and become available here in my home in the United States. So what do you think? All these leaks and rumors, they're just full of it, and that Pixel is really going to move forward and their phones are really going to spike some interest this year? Let me know down in the comments. I want to hear from you. If you want to check out my last video on the leaks and rumors about these phones, check it out here. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure to do so you don't miss out on future content on Pixels, if there are going to be any, and all the other foldables and top bar phones that are out there. Until next time, have a wonderful day and God bless.